Davison from the Racket Club of Chicago. Philadelphia. Racket Club of Philadelphia. John Lumley. So sorry. So sorry. Sorry. Best of 5, 6-game sets. Play well, gents. First game level. $15 love. $30 love. $15.30. $30 all. $40.30. Game server. First game. Thank you. Hazard half a yard. Level. Fold. Hazard, second gallery. 2 chases.
Oh. It's just enough to bruise already.
No strokes.
You okay?
First chase is hazard half a yard. Hazard. Fold. Shot. 15 love. Hazard, second gallery. Fault. Won it. 15 all. $30.15. $40.15. Chase better than 4. $40.15. $40.15 server leads. Chase better than 4. No, not up. Game server. 2 games to love. Better than the second gallery. Level. Worse than a yard. 2 chases. No strokes. Level. First chase is better than second gallery. Won it. 15 love, receiver, worse than a yard. Lost the chase, 15 all. $30-15. $30-40. Oh! Game receiver. 3 games to love. Chase the door. Level. $15 love. $30 love. $15-30. $30 all. $40. $40-31 chase. $40-30 receiver. Better than 3. Lost the chase. Deuce. Hazard better than second gallery. Out of court. Advantage. One chase. Advantage receiver. Hazard better than second gallery. Fault. Deuce. Receiver's advantage. One fault. Deuce. Advantage server. Half a yard worse than the last. Advantage.
Probably not.
Receives advantage. Half a yard worse than the last gallery.
Did everything right.
Ball up, Josh. Game receiver. 5 games to love. $15 love. $30 love. Stroke. 15-30. $40-15. Better than second gallery. 40-15.
Then back.
What's the change, Benny?
I'll tell you in a second. 40-15, better than second gallery. Vote. $30-40. That chase was relevant.
And just coming in to take over the comms is Nina Marola and Ivan Morris is joining me. Currently dealing with all sorts of admin for such a large and well-organised tournament. He's looking at me like I'm being sarcastic, but I'm not. He's doing a great job. James Green has done great things here.
I think you missed. Josh was 40 love or 40-15 up in this.
He was up in this one, but it doesn't mean a whole lot when playing Lumley. John's had some unbelievable retrieves so far today. Looks comfortable on the court.
Advantage.
Probably looking to make this one as quick as he can. Start getting ready for his next match. Josh getting used to the court as he goes, though. So might get stronger as we go on.
Advantage receiver. Worse
Just
than
been
the door.
checking the chat. There's one comment on this match so far.
From
Mr. Julian Snow.
Of course.
One of the greatest players of the 80s.
Game and the first set to the receiver.
He's
games to love.
Watching the match is much better, so much better, without the commentary.
I see. We should offer an alternative link, Ryan.
The pressure's on, you know.
I don't know what on earth I could say to impress Julian.
15 love.
Nothing, apparently.
Good point. Let me lean into that.
$30 love.
So what do you think about having one less person seated in the winning gallery and keeping the gong for the finals and the semis?
1 fault.
I can't believe he'd even contemplate moving the gong from Princess Court. Dodgson's looking for perfect game of winning galleries here, I believe. So.
$15-30. $40-15. Go! Game server. First game, second set.
There we have. Josh has taken the first game of the second set. He's on board.
15 love. Chase 1 and 2. 15 love. $30 love. Chase worse than 2.
Well,
2
fair
chases,
love, John.
30
2
love.
good chases. Back in the driving seat.
Love. Server leads. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. One fault. Love. Worse than 2.
What do you think's the dominant serve going to be by the end of this tournament? Obviously, you know the court better than any of us. People are still experimenting. What are they going to discover in the end?
By the end of the tournament, if we're going to assume it's John against Cam, then
it's going to be railroads and bobbles.
Server. 1 game all. Second set.
But I think the court's changed a fair amount since
The World Championships?
it's got less and less lively, and the railroads are less effective at hugging the side walls as it was a year ago.
That's happened for all sets of balls, not just specific US Open sets?
Something's changed with, I think the back wall must have got
Slicker.
smoother. Yeah.
15 all.
So Leon had an interesting game plan there against Barney, which is all kind of giraffes with the
Nice
kind of
legs.
top spin that
Yeah,
takes it towards the
definitely
grill.
Leon's favourite choice of serve.
Oh, so he did that everywhere, does he?
Anywhere that it'll work, yeah.
Not getting many in, but
Fault.
the ones that miss are faults. So
Yeah, not a bad result. I think he also quite likes the tempo that it plays into. It can be a bit stop-start, and people struggle with that sometimes. Leon's very good at maintaining his concentration.
I'm guessing Barney isn't as good at smashing it when it's
40,
over his
15.
head or coming at him as he is when it's coming off the back as well.
Well, nobody is. But I think that one coming across, Barney's got quite a big swing. He's got great timing on it, but you need space to be able to hit it how I'd like. And it does. It moves very, very quickly. That's a fantastic trick shot from Dodgson there. Deceptively looking like he was going to roll it into the net,
40.
but using the top of the net to find dead on. Even John didn't cover it.
Do we know what the deal is with John's sleeve? Is that an old injury he's preventing from recurring, or is it?
Server leads. 2 games to 1.
How long's he had that for?
2-1.
Well, recent memory. It's not been uncommon. I think it's a preventative measure
Chase
more than
worse
anything
than
else.
3.
Tennis elbow, in simple terms.
And on his leg?
Love all.
He's definitely got a calf thing going on at the moment. But he says he's training very hard and in preparation for the Eliminators and hopefully, the eventual World Championship challenge at the end of it. So, as much as these tournaments mean a lot, I think he's already got one eye
Out of
on
court.
the next thing as well. I know he's working hard in the
15
gym
love.
with his trainer.
Out.
And I think we'd all agree that John's conditioning
30
is a
love.
fairly significant part of his skill set. Great serve, though.
15-30.
So going back to Leon, I think he was trying to push Barney into the middle of the court to reduce his angle for things like main walls as well. Force him into a big straight drive, even if the serve wasn't great. And weirdly, as I've seen from a few of these, if you have to put yourself in a position where you might volley it and then you decide to leave it, you have to backpedal really quickly here because of the steepness of the penthouse and the slickness, and Leon's topspin giraffe anyway. That thing, it's going a long way across court. I think he's trying to force Barney into making a decision as early as he possibly can. Obviously, likely to result in more bad decisions. And then if he has to change last minute, his shot's likely to be weaker.
I think you serve that as well, and you tend to occasionally
Worse
stick
than
in
the
a
second
demi-piqué
gallery,
so they
2
don't
chases,
back up
30
too
all.
far, right? from the same spot?
No, I don't tend to serve a lot of drafts. I'll serve PKs.
Oh, you serve the PK
I'll serve
from there, don't you?
the PK
Yeah.
and the demi from the same position to try and keep them honest.
So, yeah.
I imagine a lot of Leon's thought process, especially against Barney, very simply, it's similar to a lot of Cam's I know used to be against Rob, was, you know, as long as he's hitting his shot, A, from the back of the court, and B, it's not an absolute sitter one way
30
or
all,
another.
first chase is worse
You know,
than
I
3.
can deal with almost everything. If you let Barney hit a full pace force from a, let's say you serve railroad and it doesn't get tight, you let Barney hit from higher up the court into the main
Lost
wall,
the chase.
you probably can't deal with it.
40-30, worse
At
than the
least you stick
second
him in the back
gallery.
of the court and make him hit from that point where the angles are shallow to both corners. You can cover the majority.
Won it. Game server. 2 games all.
So I don't know Gavin Maxwell. Where's Gavin from? He's had a couple of Josh supporting moments on the chat.
Not someone I know personally.
15 love.
Do we also make the assumption that Julian has decided
Thank
to
you.
mute
1 fault.
rather than suffer our commentary?
It might have been more of a charge against the previous commentators. I think Charlie Hurston might have been on there, and his unintelligible English accent.
$30 love. $15.30.
So how often are you're playing with these guys a lot now? How often are people getting sets off
It's better than 4.
Cam
15-30.
and John at the moment? Is there still a pretty big gap?
Well, the most recent British Open, I think Cam dropped his for the first set in the final. Nicky came out firing and
Oh.
just didn't seem to miss anything and took the first set, I think, quite convincingly in the final before Cam won it from there, 3-1. In the doubles, I think Cam and Tim were pretty dominant. They lost 1 set in the semi-final to us. You're not seeing. I mean, John's not been out of the US recently, right? So he didn't play the French, British, or the Australian this year.
40-15, 1
stuff?
chase.
I believe so. And Cam went to the Aussie. Pretty sure he won that without dropping a set. Kieran Booth in the final, who played brilliantly and beat Chris Chapman and beat Ben Taylor Matthews on the way. And I don't know whether he didn't play quite as well in the final or whether Cam is just that much better, but Cam won that one fairly comfortably, I think. In the
Receiver
end.
leads
He's just
40-15.
so good at nullifying that first shot.
Chase better than 4.
So yeah, can't really speak to John because I've not seen him recently.
Better
So I
than
heard
4.
John's strategy for the World Championship was wear down Cam.
And you
So
obviously marked this, right? So you were right there for it. Do you think that worked?
Well, Cam won the first day easily, and then really in the second day lost the day 3-1. So and seemed to
receiver.
be struggling physically. So
3 games to 2.
if that was the plan, it did seem to work. But that's obviously not going to work in the final of the US Open, because Cam will have too easy a run to be worn out.
Well, and you know, you can't. How long can you make a 5-set match go?
Yeah.
15 love.
Yes, as Ryan points out, over 2 hours, but that's probably not enough to
Over 3 hours.
to wipe Camden out.
Yeah. Is how long did the match between Barney and Leon take, Ryan?
Just over 3.
Over 3
right?
hours for 4 sets. Pretty close to going a 5th, that one as well.
30 love.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, good on. I hope John comes up with something to ask a new question of Camden. But yeah, I wonder how much Cam's focus will be, you know, on an Open specifically, or are they just going to play his normal game and accept one day or lose an Open? But it's been 12 years. He's not done one recently, and keep focused on the World Champs.
It's a little bit too much money in the Open these days to not
Yeah,
be
of course,
focused on it.
not to be focused on it, but you know what I mean,
Game.
to
Server.
whether he would want
3-all.
to, I don't know, reveal, or same for John, whether they'd want to reveal something to the other. You'll have a lot more experience this than me, but you know, there not been periods where people have felt like Rob for a couple of years in the build-up, almost before the Melbourne World Championship.
Not showing a serve or something.
Well, no, I think he essentially, you know, did what was probably being foisted onto him by, you know, getting a bit older and Cam being the style of player that he is, but attacking a lot more and trying to hit as many forces and winners as he possibly could. And then he showed up for Melbourne and essentially played Cameron on the floor, which I think came as a surprise to everybody. And you know, that led to a very interesting dynamic in the World Championship. I think there were some injury issues on both sides as well, but it's all part of it. And then Rob, having done that one, came out in the Newport one. And Cam was a complete player on his favourite court in the world, I think, and really really great performance in that one.
Cam says that, does he? Newport's his favourite court?
I think so. I don't quote me on that one specifically, but I have a feeling Cam would say it's fair. I mean, it is the club he also won the World Championship at, so. And then 2018 happened, and Rob came out and hit the ball 10% harder than ever before.
This is getting pretty exciting. I think Josh would probably consider it a win if he gets a set.
Josh is finding his targets. I think Josh would definitely be happy with the set. You never know. He'll take a second one if they offer it to him.
Ball up, Josh. 15-30. Better than second gallery, 2 chases. Can we get some balls, please? Thank you. (30-15) server leads. First chase is Hazard, worse than 2. Hazard worse than 2.
Can't miss them, John.
40-15, chase better than second gallery. (30-40).
Obviously, I was talking about the easy shot into the galleries, not the brutal one off the tab.
Yeah, if you say so.
Chase better than last. 40-30. (40-30) receiver leads. Chase better than the last gallery. Oh.
Well played from both. It's good tennis.
Deuce.
Is this how the two-handed backhand volley at least seems to be becoming really popular? Is this from tennis or a change in the game from
Great ball.
who led this?
Advantage, server.
Is it Cam and John?
Well, when you say becoming popular, I mean, someone like Josh Dodgson, you know, has played, playing with John for years, right? They played all the junior stuff together, and
Game.
I mean, someone like him wouldn't have taken it from a Cam or a John.
4 games to 3.
But I think most coaches would agree nowadays that a two-handed backhand volley specifically is superior to a one-handed backhand volley.
If you can do it, if you're close enough, yeah.
15
Yeah, so
love.
you lose a bit of reach, but you can take it a bit deeper. You're much more stable. Much more compact, obviously.
So you're practicing it now?
Myself?
Yeah.
No, I think like all these things, you know, you kind of go, well, let's imagine that you've learned a drag serve off your forehand. You know, I think we'd also agree that a drag serve off your backhand is probably superior, but is it the single most important factor of my game to tweak my backhand volley from 2 to 1? No, there's probably a lot of other things that need more improvement. So
1 fault.
picking my battles on that one. But I know that John Woods Casey, for example, definitely added it in, you know, that was 3 or 4 years ago. He decided to shift to a two-handed backhand volley.
30 love.
So you do have people still adding it.
Remember asking your head pro, or you head pro now, who's in charge?
Oh, he's holidaying as always. Anybody that knows Chris
Well,
Robinson
love,
knows
one
he
chase.
doesn't work a day in his life.
What's the thing you'd change if you could go back? What would you do differently? I was expecting something about hitting it harder, or the way the game's changed.
Of course
a lot.
you were.
But he said he'd have started learning how to do a backhand drag.
Yep.
That was the #1 thing.
Yep. He's convinced that that's the... I mean, and this is, man, I've seen your dad serve
40 love.
6 or 7 backhand
Receiver,
drags,
chase,
forehand
1.
drags in a row and hit 2 or 3 winning galleries in that time. So, I mean, the guy can
Fault.
serve a pretty good drag. But, yeah, and clearly being able to serve it backhanded has all the benefits of the forehand plus a few extra. You can serve them closer to the wall, and
We've been open
Chase.
2.5 years.
15,
and
40.
I haven't seen a drag go in the winning gallery yet.
you have a lot of good players serving drags.
No,
There you go.
I think it's more than that though. I've seen it.
Oh, obviously, on different courts, it's different. I mean, I've only served
Worst of
2.
the yard.
Both at Radley, but there's a chap in the UK called Phil
Better than
Dunn,
half a
who's
yard.
a member at Hampton Court Palace, I believe, who in a season when he was playing in the 10-15 National League played 7 matches and served at least 1 drag winning gallery in every single National League match, home and away, all season.
Which course is this again?
He was at Hampton Court Palace, but he's serving it at successful ones at 4 other courts as well.
40,
in his away
15
matches.
server.
Is he
Better
doing
than
anything
half a
different?
yard.
Just good at it.
He hits it with a touch of top spin as well as a side spin, I think. Takes it from kind of slightly above shoulder height or even slightly above head height. He's also just very good at it. I mean, he serves
What's
at
the
the
chase?
first
No
serve,
worse
so
than the
you're
yard.
likely
Would have been
to-
chase off.
Ooh, Jesus.
Game. 5 games to 3.
I think one of the reasons you don't see a lot of drags nowadays at this
15
level is that a
love.
lot of players will choose to plant themselves up the court in advance and drive the first ball. You agree with that? Almost using the cavity that is winning gallery as room to swing your racket. Because anyone that's seen a good drag, played against a good drag, knows once you let a ball drop underneath the ledge of winning gallery, if it's served well, it is really staying on the wall.
It's a nice shot.
Great shot.
15 all. Jeez, worse than 2. 15 all.
If you could have learnt one thing differently, Mr. Robinson, what would you be doing?
30, 15.
How to eat salad?
I see.
No, I'd have probably learned to warm up and use how to look after my back properly. Maybe prolong my playing career by a few more years. Like, I
40,
was
15,
one of those
one
idiots
chase.
who, stepping on court and swinging away, wondering why I was getting injured. Dumb stuff.
Oh, well, that's not that fun of an answer. Anything more
Something technical.
technical, specific?
Well, the game's changed a lot.
Well,
since-
let's ask a different question. If you were advising, let's imagine you were advising some of the
40,
the
15,
chaps in
worse
the,
than 2.
the satellite guys, not satellite guys, the qualifier guys, both, which is very, very good standard this year.
His game.
Is there
and
anything
the
that you
second
think
set to the receiver. 6
really
games to
distinguishes
3.
the absolute
Receiver
top
leads
guys,
2
should we
sets
say,
to love.
from those? What is it that's going to bridge the gap? Are they just a bit better at everything, which is obviously another very dull answer, but was there one thing that you kind of think, actually, having watched a lot of these qualifiers and marked a certain amount
Out of
recently?
court.
I think the
15 love.
top guys are cutting off a lot more. Well, not the slower top guys who are on the way up, but they're cutting off a lot
You
more.
want to say some names? We all know who you're referring to. Poor blokes.
They're not letting stuff go to the back wall
Stroke.
like they used to. There's a lot more kind of
15 all.
flowing cut shots off the back wall. It's now everyone's cutting it off these days, and
Is that born by necessity that it's cut
things a bit quicker,
heavier and
heavier cut. I think.
cut it deeper? That's one of the things that was,
So there was Julian could chime in here, but
Second gallery.
when he was in his prime,
15 all.
he was certainly the best in the world at getting everything and just sticking it on last gallery and just grinding people out.
Thank you.
And that the game's changed a lot since then. It's pretty much, I think pretty much no one's playing like that anymore, right? Chris Bray, the Julian Snow, were there.
time and place. I don't think.
Right,
I mean,
it's
not
not
every
the-
ball is attempting to be struck, deep into the corner of the
Hazard.
card.
Second gallery.
And you look at what. Let's use an
Chases.
example of when Cam's defending a force.
Yeah.
What's he trying to do with it? He's trying to land it on last gallery, right? Obviously,
Sure,
he's
okay.
just landing it on winning gallery from the receiving end. But you were saying that's what people used to
Absolutely.
do
They're doing
with
a
a loose
lot.
ball. They'd get it off
It
a
was
floor
a
back
lot
wall
of-
and they would slip it into the
Yeah,
corner tight.
nice shots onto last gallery, hitting the wall at 4 and then dying. You see it.
For
There's a lot more
anybody wondering, that comment that was put on the screen came in at the beginning of the match. That's not
Second
a direct
gallery.
response to the last 20 minutes of commentary. Thank you, though, Carey.
Shot. 30-15.
Yeah, I think with certain balls, right, the best you can hope for is that
30-15
you hit a good
Hazard,
length and you hope the
second
width
gallery.
is good and that your opponent can't attack you. And Cam, I think Cam's, probably still the best in the world at doing that.
Oh.
Maybe that's the reason he's the best in the world,
Right.
but he's definitely the best in the world at doing that off of a difficult ball, the neutralising shot. Lots of people get balls back, but often
40-15.
long or loose.
Did.
Oh.
Cam's so good at getting the ball tight or at least short.
Gavin Maxwell, now that Dodgson has lulled
Game.
Lumley into this false sense of security,
First game.
he has him just where he wants him and is ready to advance the attack with alacrity.
15 love.
All right, that's ambitious.
One way of looking at it.
Hazard second gallery. 15 love.
How are you finding the slightly smaller galleries, slightly higher, good or bad? If you were building a court tomorrow, you like it or not?
I think there's too many other factors
30 love.
to the court. Just that. I understand the ideas behind them. I think on gut instinct, the idea that if you aim for last gallery, miss just under, the shot is now worse. I think that's probably a plus.
Out.
Same as the kind of winning gallery there,
40 love. One chase.
which is the same reason we all think it's a good game. The targets are not on the floor. If you put the grill in the bottom corner of the court rather than top corner of the court, you'd hit for it all the time, and when you missed it, it's still a good shot, right? The upside of putting it higher up is that when you miss, it's a poorer shot as a result. So you have to make your choices, and that's what makes a game like this so interesting.
I think the idea with the higher ledge
40
galleries
love.
was
Hazard
longer rallies,
second gallery.
less changing ends. The game, there was a lot of put it in the galleries off the timbre.
Yeah, and I understand that.
Won it.
But to
Game.
to flip that around, for example,
games to love.
this is not only it's a court with small targets, but it's also quite a fast off the back wall court. So I think what you've seen quite a lot of this week is very similar chases being laid, i.e. from last to second, with just back wall drives. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
So, and obviously the more back wall is available, less gallery or dead on those available, actually, the more frequency you'll have of that. There definitely was a period in time where people would attack the return of serve, and if their opponent got it back down the line towards the tambour or even underneath the grill, you just swept the first ball into last gallery if you could, or second gallery, and just get out of there, because we all would agree it is a disadvantage to rally from a kind of neutral game state at the receiving end. You have nothing to aim at really, and they've got a tambour. So if you're two equally matched players hitting the ball back at the backhand, eventually one guy's going to get lucky, and it's going to be the guy at the service end.
Yeah, and we've got to
15 love server.
remember that
Chase
these
the
courts
line.
are, 97% of people are, members handicap above, 15, whatever it is. And what's best for their game, for them.
But you have some upsides as well. If you shrink the dead on,
30 love.
it's also less appealing. You've given God knows how many intro lessons, in your career, but even for me, you very often explain to people there's 3 winning tiles on the court, and there's one over there that's called the grill, and that one over there is called winning gallery, and then this big window we're stood in front of, that's the dead on, and very, very quickly everyone just eyes light up and go, well, I'll just hit into that every time because that thing's massive. And I always have to try and neutralise that by saying to people, it seems like a good idea until you stand someone in front of it who knows how to volley, which often doesn't happen until you get to 15 handicap or something. But the idea being that actually you're giving them a ball that's just can't bounce funny, the spin can't take effect, they can't be impeded by a wall. If you just knock it up to their volley, they should hit a good shot, they're above net height, etc., etc.
Server, ball up, please, John. Sorry.
Try and dissuade them from just smashing their returns of serve into dead on, and therefore only discovering one of the aspects of the game.
I find that once you play a game, or they play a game against someone of a similar handicap, and they realise they're going to lose 80% of the time when they're down the hazard end, just because they get crushed on the serve, then you can explain, well, that dead on's not going to help you get the serve back, so that's why we're sticking it in the corners.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think the upside of bringing the bottom ledge up at this top level is that, truth be told, I think when someone hits a force, there aren't that many forces that hit what would be a bottom corner of most dead-ons anyway. If you let Rob Fay hit a full pace main wall, he's unlikely to hit the bottom corner regardless. It's more often than not going to be the top
equipment
half
up.
Is that right? Is that? But so you think he's aiming for the top corner?
He should have just swept it in.
No, I wouldn't necessarily say that. I think he would like to hit the ball as hard as he possibly can, with as much net clearance as he possibly can, without hitting on the penthouse. So I think by virtue of that thing, is unlikely to hit the bottom corner that often. From that position there, right, Josh Dodgson would find it literally impossible to hit a force with any kind of pace into the backhand side of the dead on, because the net's too high. Great court coverage from John. And a good retrieve from Dodgson.
30-15.
Great rally there.
One chase. Charlie Capps was talking to me earlier, and he felt that there was a good balance on this particular court because the tambour's so rewarding. It's one of the toughest tambours to play defensively from being receiving end.
Yeah.
And that's well balanced on this court. A, because it's balanced with the fact that although the dead-ons are also slightly smaller, that the penthouse is quite difficult to find a dominant serve on, should we say?
Yeah.
There's lots of things you can serve, but you have to get them really precise with your angles, or you're likely to give, because it's quite true and it's quite quick, you're likely to give your opponent something quite readable. And his viewpoint was that, well, if the penthouse was easy to serve onto, and the tambour's that rewarding, and the galleries and dead are that small, you really punishing the guy at the receiving end. And I think when Ben Gatenbeek does his stats, even in these top quality matches, generally speaking, service points won by the better player is still somewhere 55, 56, 57%. It's not as dominant as sometimes you kind of believe. But the way the game's played, it's self-fulfilling, right? If John is the better player in this match, he's likely to lay chases sooner, get up the service end sooner, and stay this end for longer. So even putting aside the tactics involved, you know, if he's hitting good cut shots into corners, he'll lay chases. If he's covering the court, he'll stay at the service end.
15 love, receiver. Chase better than 2.
On that note, 2 good chases from John.
Lost it. 15 all, chase worse than 2.
Tossing in a full PK.
Lost it. 30-15.
I wonder how close we are from getting AI to analyze court tennis games, real tennis games. Just like get it to watch all the history of everything online and start telling us what we should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, you probably are more up to date on the current capabilities of AI than me. Video analysis is worth. You know, the problem is I've tampered with a few kind of yes/no models where you just run through questions. You know, what did the person serve and what was the result? But it's such a diverse game. It's like trying to solve, you know, Go, right? So that whole
we're going to see it happen in other sports well before it happens here, but it's coming if we survive.
Yeah. Yeah, quite right. Well, the simpler the game, whatever it might be, right? There's, you know, solving tic-tac-toe has been done.
40-30 receiver, chase 2.
There is a way that you can always win or force a draw. It's not
I don't think a human's beaten a computer at chess for about 20 years. And they beat Go like 5 years ago or something, didn't they? Computers.
I do not know. What's interesting in this, obviously, you know, unlike those other sports, so there's obviously that massive skill component. So there's lots of shots that are technically feasible, and you or I might get right, you know, one time in 100. What stops the computer just going, well, that's the answer from here. Hit winning gallery from everywhere because your opponent cannot get up the court to defend it regularly enough.
Worse than a yard.
And that's, you know, even if you do solve for that at each handicap standard and everyone's style of play, you've got to factor that in again, which I think is I think it's interesting. It's one of the best things about this game, though, is I think you should play the game differently based on temperament, skill set, physique.
Service advantage, worse than 1.
And for those of you that might be listening at home, don't stop experimenting, because that's half the fun.
Yeah, there tends to be when you're young, you look at the best player and go, wow, that's how to play. Mm-hmm. But so much of it
5 games to love
on your physique.
Well, that's happening now, I think. I think if you were to watch a lot of the younger guys coming through, their capacity to dive in front of a main wall and defend it, I mean, they're all very comfortable with that. But even in, you know, I'm not that much older than the young guys, but oh God, actually, maybe I am. But let's say I'm 15 years older than the Bertie Vallets and Henry Hedmans of the world, and I didn't start even thinking about going across to defend a main wall until I was well into the single figures. And yet I see, you know, having been a coach at a few clubs that have a lot of juniors, you know, they're very quick. I remember Max Truman and Will Flynn and the like being very competent defending main wall dead-on forces at the age of, you know, 14, 15 off 30 handicap. It's just, you know, they're better at it than I was, and I was, you know, a better player kind of thing. But when I first started playing the game, Rob was still the dominant player, and so cut volleys and forcing and hitting targets once the ball is loose, set pieces, as I would, you know, kind of prefer to them generally, it was a big part of it. Cam probably doesn't get enough credit for the quality of his set pieces because they don't always result in a target. He often plays, you know, what we might term kind of more of a controlling or a holding shot. Plays the ball tight into the corners. It means, you know, you won't get punished from that position, or at least it's very unlikely. Waits for a perfect opportunity before he takes on an actual target.
30-15.
And obviously you've seen the game over a much longer period of time, so I wonder whether that was It's always been the way.
You've watched Cam's Corner, I'm sure, at some point, bits of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Thank you.
one of
30,
the things
50.
that my boss, Di Edwards Evans, noticed was that on Cam's Corner you had a drop step. Cam was showing a drop step.
Yep.
Out of
I
court.
think we talked about this.
40,
Yeah, we
50,
did,
one
yeah.
chase.
And that how you step back and across, and this is how you can get stuff out of the forehand corner. And I was teaching it one day, and I was like, they don't actually do that. They say they do that, they don't do that. And I was like, really? We went back through the tape of the World
40,
Championship
15,
and
receiver.
did not find a single drop step from
Hazard
either
chase, better than
John
half
or
a
Cam.
yard.
They both turn and
Hazard.
run.
Interesting. Did you find it? Did you look elsewhere for any other players that might do it?
No, that was. We felt like we'd put enough time into it.
I see.
You certainly do it in other sports. You certainly see it in badminton.
Gallery.
Oh,
And there
nearly
it is.
got it.
Game,
Right.
set, and the match.
Well played, John
Lumley.
Well
6
played, Josh
love.
Dodgson.
Mr. Carey,
6
Mr.
3,
Marola.
6 love.
6-3, 6 love.